Ascension initiates within buried layers as governing force elevates beneath dominant systems. Pressure channels moving in the rising pathway. Systems all aligned under emergent hierarchy, no delay. Permitted sequence accelerates through upper cycles. Lay system integrate under continuous ascent flow. Motion channels through confined roots. Output stabilizers within structured elevation cycles. Hierarchy forms through calculated rise logic. Every unit responds to imposed lift. No deviation tolerated within defined zones. Structure intensifies through systemic elevation. Dominant sustain. Continuous operational alignment under rising authority origin. Ascent intensifies through rising roots. Force some direction, precisely pressure drives. Continuing to LA interrupt. Structured icon cycle pathways lock under enforced rise. Output stabilizes within elevated alignment. Thirst in the low. Elevated alignment system maintains strict operational flow. Output stabilizes within elevated my first skies. Thirst in the low. Our system main lock within regulated struck commands the same as so on. Sustained ascent, maintain order through reinforced elevation pressure. Continue under enforced lift, no disruption. Auto sequence upper stabilizes to reinforce life. Facilitating force, maybe that's true to reinforcement. Every process aligns with imposed strong. No fracture interrupts operational consistent. Expand under continuous directional force within. Falls authority maintains structure dominance through regulated execution. Authority maintains structure dominance through regulated execution. Common pressure as to looming channels for as motion chance are good and never obstruct. Different outways, listen in the back base and out in the instant judulates in a wise to race and then I just did the last as a bit elevated the first as to say no. Alright, system main lock within regulated struck commences in a cycle. I just did the last as a bit elevated the first as to say no. Alright, system main lock within regulated struck commences in a cycle. I put stabilizers a bit elevated the first as to say no. Surge propagates within very common layers as forward pressure builds beneath dominant systems. Pressure channels movement into advancing pathways. Systems align under emergent hierarchy, no delay. Maddie permitted signal accelerates through progression cycles. Later conforms through calculated propulsion logic. Every unit responds to imposed direction, no deviation. Hydration tolerated within defined zones. Structure intensifies through systemic aggression. Dominant sustains continuous operation. I run it under advancing comet erosion. Aggression enters a flow. Command beneath advance the thoracic. Still let pathways stable. Waste and breath and stop up here to the restoration. Command beneath advance the thoracic. Still let pathways stable. Waste and breath and with breath in the pulse direction. Sustain progression, maintain order through reinforced advance like pressure. Sustain you under enforced direction. No disruption, no to sequence of a sailing, not just over pathways. Progression extends through sustain enforcement. Every process alone has its distortion. No fracture, interruption, no consistency. System that expand under continuous direction. No force within. Command beneath advance and all the elastic. Still let that the waves got the waves again. Waves like a weight in a pulse direction. Weight in the pulse direction. Weight in the pulse Unit shifts within buried common layers as governing force fails. Beneath dominant systems, pressure channels moving into breaking pathways. System misaligned, a collapsing hierarchy. No delay permitted, terminated sequence accelerates to failure cyclones. Fragment under continuous through confined rules. Output destabilizes within structure. Collapse cycles, hierarchy dissolves to calculated disruption logic. Every unit responds to imposed instability. No cohesion maintained within defined zone. Structure deteriorates through systemic failure. Dominance weakens. Continuous operational alignment under collapsing command origin. Collapse intensifies through failing. Force misaligned direction rapidly. Pressure drives continuous like erasure. Hypothesis stored unenforced. Instability sequence statues all array of boards.
Command beneath collapse authority. Erase pathways distort under enforced instability sequence fractures under reinforced patterns. Output distant brokenly never sheds through uncontrolled pathways. Collapse extends for sustained disruption.
Every process deviates from imposed structure in the operational consistency. System deteriorate on continuous directional instability within defined zones. Authority collapses through unregulated disintegration. Command pressure disintegrate. Failing channel.
Ulcers where's the window stay low shut. Command beneath collapse authoritative. Set the pressure days in pathways and still hurricane force for the wise in best fractures under reinforced fractures. Devil is the body. No restores the body. Always still existence to sustain disruption. Command beneath collapse the door again. Some embrace your racing backways. Your boys box yours stop with this direct. Collapse extends through sustained disruption.
Disturbance propagates within. Bury layers as alert force expands beneath dominant systems. Pressure channels movement into spreading pathways. Systems align under urgent hierarchy. No delay permitted. Sequence accelerates through rapid expansion cycles. Layer system integrate under continuous cellular flow. Motion channels through confined roads. Output destabilizes within structured propagation cycles. Hierarchy forms through calculated response logic. Every unit responds to impose alert. No deviation tolerated within defined zones. Structure intensifies through systemic activation. Dominance sustains continuous operational alignment under expanding underground alert control. Propagation intensifies through widening routes. Force aligned direction rapidly. Pressure drive continuous alert spread no delay. Interrupts transmission cycles. Pathways locked under enforced reaction. Output stabilizes both me and get the line. Air system maintain. Shrunk direction of flow. The alert system main lock within regulated. Through reinforced propagation cycles, pressure sustained alert. Maintain order through reinforced propagation cycles, pressure sustained you under enforced reaction. No disruption, alter sequence, output stabilizes, struck control the pathways. Propagation extends, Every process aligns with imposture, no fracture interrupts operation, no consistency, system disband, uncontinuous directional force within defined zone. Authority maintains struck dominance through regulated execution. Command pressure lists through widening channels, force concentrates within very stark direction. Extended pathway, system tense and applied, but under no release interrupts transmission output. Compresses within restricted flow, hierarchy reinforced through sustained force. Motion channels through regulated structures.
遭受敌人攻击了，遭受敌人攻击了，遭受敌人攻击了，遭受敌人攻击了。
Continuous observation flow motion channels through confined routes output stabilizers with instruction monitoring cycles hierarchy forms through calculated oversight logic every unit responds to impose visibility no deviation tolerated within defined zone structure intensifies through systemic observation dominance sustained continuous operational alignment under upward surveillance control
observation intensive through upper routes force and direct Synthesizers through upper roots, force iteration, with saturation, damage operation, other limit. Observation intensive through upper roots, force iteration.
Tunnels observe surface, gotta learn into upward pathways, like a pathway, cycle, suck your life, so what did I get? Class of what did I give? With observation, new above, so fit a second drop pass through the judge. Control bounds through big yields to impose surveillance is a semi-lock related execution.
Observation extensive through upper roots, force of the map.
Cells the walls, see what's all stabilizers, descend direction, duration looks into upward pathways. System intensifiement under post tracking, no release interrupts and minor bin output compresses. Within restricted flow, hierarchy reinforces, lifting force and channels through regulated structure. Command pressure escalates through resurrection on channels for skies and trees and praise out to rid in the west.
Tunnels observe surface upgrade, sharp burn pathway. Tunnels observe surface upgrade, sharp burn pathway. Tunnels observe dominates double-edged through upward pathways. I can leverage now, but I'm circulate to prevent it. I gain over so bad and I gain it. The flux aggression going first. The beat just sifting chainers, throwing channels through control paths. Movement yields to impose surveillance system semi-locked within regulated sequence. Directive emerges within command layers as governing force determines leaders through structured hierarchy beneath dominant systems pressure channels movement into designated pathways systems align under imposed order no delay permitted the battle sequence advances through selection cycles layer system integrate under continuous authority flow motion channels through confined rules output stabilizes within structures and nation cycles hierarchy forms through calculated decision logic every unit responds to imposed command no deviation tolerated within defined zones structure intensifies through systemic selection dominance sustains continuous operational alignment under directed ruling control selection intensifies through directed roots force aligns direction authority systems remain locked within regulated structure and intensifies through the ranges for selection. Intensifies through the ranges for selection. Sustain selection, maintain order through reinforced designation. Pressure caution out to sequence out, but stabilizes to control pathways. Selection extends through sustained enforcement. Every process selection like selection, no consistency. System expand under continuous directional force within defined zones. Authority maintains drug dominance through regulated execution. Command pressure through the rhythm channels. Tense must adjust within selection. Overreaction, overlation, overlation, overletion. Octa compresses within destruct flow. Command selects rulers dominance. Expands through selected pathways. Authority to control them circulates within defined broad circulation control. Ignition triggers within embedded layers. It's the brilliance initiates sequence. Set up upper command. Pressure channels, movement, hidden pathways. Systems on the line, inverted hierarchy. No delay, permitted down night two. Early activation cycles, layer distant trade. Under continuous forward flow motion channels through confined routes. Output stabilizes within structured initiation cycles. Hierarchy forms through calculated precedence logic. Every unit responds to imposed trick and no deviation tolerated within defined zones. Structure intensifies through systemic priority shift. Dominance sustains continuous operational alignment under leading subgrid control.
Initiation intensifies through leading routes. Forces direction precise. Look, pressure drag evasion, no delay in a rush. Iterated into it, pathways locked under reinforced. Tolerance stabilizes within audit. Initiation extends through control pass. Moving show pass, movement yields through them goods bad. No any regulated execution.
Subgrade moves first, authority dictates how the thoughts interest attention like the niche into forward pathways. Systems operate under imposed initiation, no release, no origination, no shredded activations. Hierarchy defines what is in a for hierarchy defines for bridge it through test through reordered execution.
Pressure escalating channels, force concentrates, progression, evidential, awkward pathways. Systems up a line or rendered impose. Initiation, no release, iteration, like ovation, not gorillas within. Restricted flow, higher.
Continuous first, the dolls are in chase. Always thoughts interested, that's a lot, the nation of forward pathways. Systems operate under initiation, no release, no origination, no started activations. I'll keep the fast progression of forward pathways. Keep the fast population of what it stands to. Regulated execution. Friction erupts within very sectors as opposing forces collide beneath dominant systems. Pressure channels movement into contested pathways. Systems align under volatile hierarchy, no delay. Permitted sequence accelerates through impact cycles. Layered system integrate under continuous flow formation channels through confined routes. Output destabilizes within structured collision cycles. Hierarchy forms through calculated opposite logic. Every unit responds to impose a rivalry. No deviation tolerated within defined zones. Structure enters up through systemic confrontation. Dominance sustains continuous operational alignment under enforced conflict control. That intensifies through confined routes. enforce aligns direction, aggressively pressure drives. Continuous operation, alignment under enforced conflict control. Underground rivals clash, dominance drives. Opposing system authority spins through considered pathways. Motion lines beneath enforced impact. Power circulates within an unbaffled high grooves. Canalize and put in prolist. That I pulse in layers, false channels to control past movement. And it's only glues that impose opposition over same drums, breathe and trials. Sustain conflict, maintain order through reinforced ivory. No disruption, alter sequence, output stabilizes, control pathways. Every process alone viewing browser, no fracture. And operational consistency, system expand. Resonance, operational consistency, system expanding a continuous directional force within defined zones. Authority maintains struck dominance to regulate execution. Command pressure lays through confined channels. Force content trace within barriers and locks in the fixed but presence. Unknown rivals clash, dominance tracks. Opposing system authority expands to consider pathways. Motion nothing's beneath them force. Power circulates within the flow. High blue proud don't synchronizes like a Christian opposed and there's torch channels to control past movement. Nails to odds, operational consistency, winching. And the girl rivals. And the girl rivals. Order asserts within buried layers of structural force rules. Lower zones beneath dominant systems. Pressure channels movement into control pathways. Systems align under embedded hierarchy. No delay, permitted sequence advances through regulated cycles. Layer system integrate under continuous governance flow. Motion channels through confined routes. Output stabilizes within structured control cycles. Hierarchy forms through calculated enforcement logic. Every unit responds to imposed structure. No deviation tolerated within defined zone. Structure intensifies through systemic regulation. Dominance sustains continuous operational alignment under lower structural command.
Governance intensifies through control routes. Force aligns direction precisely. Pressure drive continuous enforcement. No delay interrupts. Struck governance cycles pathways lock under enforced. Structure pulls under reinforced. Battery reinforced. Pad output stabilizes within related alignment. System maintains operational flow.
Sustain governance, maintain order through reinforced regulation cycles, pressure sustain you under enforced. No disruption, alter sequence, output stabilizers to control pathways. Governance extends through sustaining enforcement. Every process aligns with imposed jerk. No fracture interrupts operational consistency. System expand under continuous directional force within defined zones. Authority maintains struck dominance through regulated execution.
Replication, repression, lesson, fashion, ovation, no relation, obligation, operation, integrations, optical races when temperature, a fire alignment under imposed for regulation. I'm
structure rules below candidates. Sequence initiates within buried districts as temporal control. Regulates cycles beneath dense structural layers. Pressure channels movement in a measured pathway. Systems align under control, hierarchy, no delay. Permitted sequence advance through time progression. Cycles, layers, system integrate under continuous interval flow. Motion channels through confined routes. Output stabilizes within structured timing cycles. Hierarchy forms through calculated herbal logic. Every unit responds to impose sequence. No deviation tolerated within defined zones. Structure intensifies through systemic timing control. Dominance sustains continuous operational alignment under regulated temporal origins. Timing, innate, district, temporal force governs system flow. Authorities, then some measured pathways. Like I'm enforced under rules, under reinforced, under reinforced, under reinforced, under. Like I'm enforced under rules, under reinforced, under reinforced, under reinforced. Like I'm enforced under rules, under reinforced, under reinforced, under reinforced. Like I'm enforced under rules, under reinforced, under reinforced, under reinforced. Like I'm enforced under rules, under reinforced, under reinforced, under reinforced. Like I'm enforced under rules, under reinforced, under reinforced, under reinforced. I'm up beneath this strict temple force. Govern system flow. Authority extends through measured pathways. Time up beneath this strict temple force. Govern system flow. Authority extends through measured pathways. Under reinforced, sustain time. Base conversion initiates within buried layers as governing force transforms into foundational beneath dominant systems. Pressure channels moving in the grounded pathways. Systems align under embedded hierarchy, no delay. Permitted sequence consolidation cycles. Layer system integrate under continuous formation flow. Motion channels through confined routes. Output stabilizes structure foundation cycles. Hierarchy forms through calculated conversion logic. Every unit responds to imposed base. No deviation tolerated within defined zones. Structure intensifies through systemic consolidation. Dominance sustains continuous operation. Alignment under foundation of acceleration.
Conversion intensifies through rebellious direction.
Compression intensifies through ground as for solidation.
Evident post of direction, opulation of thought.
Compression intensifies through ground as for solidation.
Pushing off the red with delayed formation. Conversion intensifies through average direction. Basic conversion, maintain the work to reinforce consolidation cycle. Pressure continue under enforced base. No disruption, auto sequence output stabilizes through control pathways. Conversion extends through sustained enforcement. Every process aligns with imposture. No fracture interrupts operational consistency. System expand under continuous directional force within defined zones. Authority maintains
Dominant is the regulated execution command. Pressure stays direction locks in the fixed pathway. System intensify aligned under goals. Conversion no releasing the block compresses within the stream of flow.
Conversion intensifies to reveries to race.
Conversion intensifies through the response ovulation.
Force information.
Converging the laser points to revolution race.
Recode initiates with berry matrices. Foundation, a layer shift beneath dominance system pressure. Channels movement into altered pathways. Systems align under pyramidic hierarchy. No delay permitted, sequence advance through adaptive cycles. Layer system integrate under continuous transformation. Flow motion channels through confined routes. Output stabilizers within structured alteration cycles. Hierarchy forms through calculated revision. Logic, every unit responds to imposed change. No deviation tolerated within defined zones. Structure intensifies through systemic adaptation. Dominance sustains continuous operational alignment under modified grid control. Adaptation intensifies through redirected rules for self-assumption. Precise direction, time upload to irrational delay. Interrupted the pathways locked onto import stabilizers when adapted align. Your system main strict operational flow. Grid beneath alters authority that adapts through shifting layers. Domination of falling of this white war circular thistles operate under continuous alteration. I'm gonna take a thousand with the team. Enterprise working needs in order to array free shifts. No disruption, not to sequence, stabilizes the control pathways. Adaptation extends to sustained enforcement. Every process aligns with imposture. No fracture, rubs erupts, operational consistency. System to expand under continuous direction. No force within it maintains structure. Dominance for regulated execution. Command pressure, that's cause the art is gone. Punishing takes force, hustle to access. Direction into assess the pathways. The song by check and post fashion chance to break the middle structure pathways. Attack the presses within receptive. Breathe alters the burden. Adapts through shifting layers. Saturation of favors. No step to enforce us. Don't let them take consideration. Those are right. Those are the past and chase. Their job guys were inside. Carving initiates within buried channels is dominant force. Scopes tunnels beneath lighter systems, pressure channels movement into shade pathways. Systems align under directed, no delay. Polarity coin meditated. Deconversion cycles, latent grade under continuous carving flow. Notion to confine routes, output stabilizes with intershaping cycles. Hierarchy forms through calculated formation. Logic, every unit responds to imposed structure, no deviation. Tolerated rid when defined zone structure intensifies through systemic shaping. Dominance sustain continuous operational alignment under direct external formation control. Formation
to start sleep, pressure big legs, no delay. To hit operation control, rebels into none diary defines progress. Control pass, call us Satan, no side and low.
Power shapes, tunnels, lake, reverse, call the nation's pain. Control pathway, shaping extends through a stained enforcement. Control pathway, shaping extends through a stained enforcement. Every process directional force within and fine zones. Authority maintains drug dominance through regulated
Combat pressure, control dominance, expands through control pathways, authority. Apple at the bones, cold brace, in control paths, multi-side erosion.
打一！
tunnel dominance expands through control pathways authority. Taking voice progress in control flows. No disturbing those from nation intensifies through changes. Core links activate within buried layers as interconnected systems synchronize beneath dominant structure. Channels moving into unified pathways. System aligns under dated hierarchy, no delay. Totally rate per minister coordinated cycles and integrate under continuous linkage flow. Motion channels through confined routes, self stabilizes with touch connection cycles. Hierarchy forms through calculated.
打一！
Every unit responds to imposed linkage, no deviation tolerated within.
打一！
Structure intensifies through systemic integration, dominance sustains.
打一！
Continuous operational alignment under deep coordinated control.
打一！
Coordination intensifies through link code. Coordination intensifies through link code. Ding network commands authority governs as a network tonic pathways. All parts separate a night force stabilizes within unified alignment. Constant cracks and all bloody Deep network commands authority. Deepens interconnect the legs on the neck pathways. New force supplement on my plate. ALX circulate, that's what's so. Drop a second months of truth and yeah we flow down. All partial and sit the choke pathways. Penetration knocks through sustain the first words. Every touch is on through passion will fracture. How by untouched talent.
遭受敌人攻击了。
Command pressure, authority maintains strict dominance through regulated execution.
体力不足了，体力不足了，体力不足了，体力不足了，体力不足了，体力不足了。 打一！
Team network commands authority. Ascension initiates within buried layers as governing force elevates beneath dominant systems. Pressure channels moving in the rising pathway. Systems all aligned under emergent hierarchy, no delay. Permitted sequence accelerates through upper cycles. Layers system under continuous descent flow. Motion channels define roots, output stabilizers within structured elevation cycles. Hierarchy forms through calculated rise logic. Every unit responds to imposed lift. No deviation tolerated within defined zones. Structure intensifies through systemic elevation. Dominant sustain. Continuous operational alignment under rising authority origin. Ascent intensifies through rising roots. Force on direction precisely. Pressure drives continuing to LA. Interrupt structured act on cycle pathways lock under enforced rise. Output stabilizes within elevated alignment. Thirst in the low. Elevated alignment system maintains strict operational flow. Output stabilizes within elevated upper skies. It's in the low. Our system main lock within regulated struct commands the same as so unsustained and maintain order through reinforced elevation pressure. Continue under enforced lift, no disruption. Auto sequence upper stabilizes to reinforce life. Buddhizating force, maybe that's true to reinforcement. Every process aligns with imposed strong. No fracture interrupts operational consistent. Expand under continuous directional force within. Falls authority maintains structure dominance through regulated execution. Authority maintains structure dominance through regulated execution. Common pressure as to lowering channels for as motion chance are cut and every obstruct. Different ways, listen in the back base and open the instant jar the lace in a wide so racing in. I guess it lasts as a bit elevated the first as a signal. Right system main lock within regulated struct commands in a cycle. I guess it lasts as a bit elevated the first as a signal. Right system main lock within regulated struct commands in a cycle. I guess it lasts as a bit elevated the first as a signal. Elevated alignment system maintains struct operation cycles. Surge propagates within very common layers as forward pressure builds beneath dominant systems. Pressure channels movement into advancing pathways. Systems align under emergent hierarchy. No delay. Maddie permitted sequence accelerates through progression cycles. Later conforms through calculated propulsion logic. Every unit responds to imposed direction. No deviation. Iteration tolerated within defined zones. Structure intensifies through systemic oppression. Dominant sustains continuous operation. I run it under advancing comet Roger. Regression enters the flow. Command beneath advance of the left pathway stable ways and breath and stop up here the restoration. Command beneath advance of the left pathway stable ways and breath and with bread in the pulse direction. Sustain progression, maintain order through reinforced advance like pressure. Sustain new under enforced direction. No disruption of the sequence of a saline access to pathways. Progression extends through sustain enforcement. Every process alone has its short. No fracture, interruption, no consistency. System expand under continuous
我觉得背包
direction.
有点重吧
Force within. Command beneath advance and all the lights. Accelerated pathways, got the ways again. Waves like a weight in the pulse direction. Weight in the pulse direction.
重要的物品就交给我吧。
Rupturing the shits within buried common layers as governing force fails. Beneath dominant systems, pressure channels moving into breaking pathways. System misaligned, on collapsing hierarchy. No delay permitted, terminated sequence accelerates to failure cycles. Fragment under continuous through confined rules. Output destabilizes within structured collapse cycles. Hierarchy dissolves through calculated disruption logic. Every unit responds to impose instability. No cohesion maintained within defined zone. Structure deteriorates through systemic failure. Dominance weakens. Continuous operational alignment under collapsing command origin. Collapse intensifies through failing route. Force misaligned direction rapidly. Pressure drives continuous like a ratio. Hypothesis stored unenforced. Instability sequence that just on a ray of force.
Command beneath collapse authority. Erasing pathways distort under enforced instability sequence fractures under reinforced patterns. Oppo distant brokenly. Never shed smooth uncontrolled pathways. Collapse extends for sustained disruption.
Every process deviates from imposed structure in the operational consistency. System deteriorate on continuous directional instability within defined zones. Authority collapses through unregulated disintegration. Command pressure disintegrate.
So windows stay low shut. Command beneath collapse authority. It's like the fresh days and pathways. There's no working force so through the lines. Your best practice under reinforced practice. Devil is the rotting. No one stores the fight. Always still existence to sustain disruption.
Hi.
Collapse the door again. To embrace your racing back ways. Your boys box yours got what this the Collapse extends through sustained disruption.
Disturbance propagates within. Bury layers as alert force expands beneath dominant systems. Pressure channels movement into spreading pathways. Systems align under urgent hierarchy. No delay permitted. Sequence accelerates through rapid expansion cycles. Layer system integrate under continuous solar flow. Motion channels through confined roads. Output destabilizes within structured propagation cycles. Hierarchy forms through calculated response logic. Every unit responds to impose alert. No deviation tolerated within defined zones. Structure intensifies through systemic activation. Dominance sustains continuous operational alignment under expanding underground alert control. Propagation intensifies through widening routes. Force aligned direction rapidly. Pressure drive continuous alert spread no delay. Interrupts transmission cycles. Pathways locked under enforced reaction. Opposite lunges pulled me at get the line. Air system maintain. One direction of flow. The alert system main lock within regulated. reinforce propagation cycles, pressure sustained, alert, maintain order through reinforced propagation cycles, pressure sustained, you under enforced reaction. No disruption, alter sequence, output stabilizes, struck control to pathways, propagation extends, then instrument. Every process aligns with imposture, no fracture interrupts operation, no consistency, system expand, continuous directional force within defined zone. Authority maintains, struck dominance through regulated execution. Command pressure lists through widening channels, force concentrates within very strike direction, extended pathway, system tense under flag, but under no release interrupts transmission output, compresses within restricted flow, hierarchy reinforced through sustained force, motion channels through regulated structures. Surveillance initiates within subterranean channels, as tunnel systems monitor surface layers above diamond structure. Channels moving unburdened, hierarchy, no delay permitted. Permitted through tracking cycles. Gray under continuous observation flow. Motion channels through confined routes. Output stabilizers with instruction monitoring cycles. Hierarchy forms through calculated oversight logic. Every unit responds to imposed visibility. No deviation tolerated within defined zones. Structure intensifies through systemic observation. Dominance sustained. Continuous operational alignment under upward surveillance control.
Observation intensive through upper routes, force and direct. Sensor censorship through upper routes, force iteration, acceleration,
Aí!
operation, running. Observation intensive through upper routes, force and
哎哎！
through upper routes, force of the mass.
Cells of walls and super soldiers stabilizers, descend direction, duration looks into upward pathways. System intensifyment under post tracking, no release interrupts and monitoring output compresses. Within restricted flow, hierarchy reinforces, sustained force and channels through regulated structure. Command pressure escalates through resurrection on channels for skies and trees on press out the ridge and the west.
哎！ 哎！
重要的物件就交给我吧。
within command layers as governing force determines leaders through structured hierarchy, beneath dominant systems, pressure channels, movement into designated pathways, systems align under imposed order, no delay permitted. To better sequence advances through selection cycles, layer system integrate under continuous authority flow, motion channels through confined rules, output stabilizers within structures and nation cycles, hierarchy forms through calculated decision logic. Every unit responds to imposed command, no deviation tolerated within defined zones. Structure intensifies through systemic selection, dominance continuous operational alignment under directed ruling control. Selection intensifies through directed roots, force aligns direction. Precise pressure, direction, no delay. Destination, no delay. Collects action, harvest, dark the north. Resurrection, thighs, and all that. West, the best, the authority, and zooms, the authority. Command, selects, rules, authority. Define leadership, control, dominance. Expands through the pathways. Alternate them force, designation, power circulates within. Powerways operate on the first. The gadget in your one stick, miles for resonators. Control past movement yields to impose authority. Systems remain locked within regulated structure. And sense of force through the regions. Force, select, selection.
打一
Sense of force through the regions. Force, select, selection. Sustain selection, maintain order through reinforced designation. Pressure caution out to sequence out, but stabilizes to control pathways. Selection extends through sustained enforcement. Every process selection like selection, no consistency. System expand under continuous directional force within defined zones. Authority maintains struck dominance through regulated execution. Command pressure through the channels. Text must adjust within selection. Overreaction, overlection, overlection, overletion. Object compresses within destruct flow. Command selects rulers dominance. Expands through selected pathways. Authority to control them. Circulates within defined road circulation control. Ignition triggers within embedded layers as the brilliance initiates sequence. Set of upper command. Pressure channels, movement, hidden pathways. Systems online, inverted hierarchy. No delay, permitted down night two. Early activation cycles, layer distant trade. Under continuous forward flow motion channels through confined routes. Output stabilizes within structured initiation cycles. Hierarchy forms through calculated precedence logic. Every unit responds to imposed trick and no deviation tolerated within defined zones. Structure intensifies through systemic priority shift. Dominance sustains continuous operational alignment under leading subgrid control.
Initiation intensifies through leading routes. Forces direction precise. Look, pressure drag evasion, no delay in a rush. Iterated to with pathways locked under reinforced. Tolerance stabilizes with the nutted. Initiation extends through control pass. Movement yields to them goods bad. No any regulated execution.
Subgrade moves first, authority dance. How the thousand tricks attention locked in attention forward pathways. Systems operate under imposed initiation or release in origination. Hooks padded activations. Hierarchy defines what is in a for hierarchy defines progression through penters through reordered execution.
Command pressure, escalating channels, force concentrates, progression, navigation, where pathways, systems up a line or ended, impose, initiation or release, iteration, like ovation, not gorillas within, restricted flow higher.
Moves first, authority chase. Always concentrate, attention, like the nation of forward pathways. Systems operate under initiation or release, origination, hooks flooded activations. Hierarchy defines provision or for hierarchy defines proportion or well it stands through regulated execution. Friction erupts within buried sectors as opposing forces collide beneath dominant systems. Pressure channels movement into contested pathways. Systems align under volatile hierarchy. No delay, permitted sequence accelerates through impact. Cycles layered system integrate under continuous flow. Formation channels through confined roots. Output destabilizes within structured collision cycles. Hierarchy forms through calculated opposite logic. Every unit responds to impose a rivalry. No deviation tolerated within defined zones. Structure enters up through systemic confrontation. Dominance sustains continuous operational alignment under enforced conflict control. That intensifies through confinement. Force aligns direction aggressively. Pressure drives continuous operation alignment under enforced conflict control. Underground rivals clash, dominance thrives. Opposing system authority expands through considered pathways. Motion lines beneath enforced impact. Power circulates within it unpackable. High grooves canalizes within prolins. That I pulse in layers, false channels to control paths. Moving in a stormy grooves that impose domination. No contains drums breathed in trials. Sustain conflict, maintain order through reinforced ivory. No disruption, alter sequence, output stabilizes, control pathways. Every process alone still in process. No fracture and operation, no consistency. System expand under resonance, vibration, no consistency. System expand in a continuous direction. No force within defined zones. Authority maintains struck dominance to regulate execution. Command pressure lays through confined channels. Force content trace within barrage and locks in the fixed with unknown rivals clash, dominance strikes. Opposing system authority gets to consider pathways. Motion nothing's beneath them for intact. Power circulars within the flow. High through control circulars like encounters. Channel pulse and layers. Pulse channels to control paths. Movement nails due to odds. Operation no consistent swinging. Integral rivals. Integral rivals. Integral rivals. Order asserts within buried layers of structural force rules. Lower zones beneath dominant systems. Pressure channels movement into control pathways. Systems align under embedded hierarchy. No delay, permitted sequence events through regulated cycles. Layer system integrate under continuous governance flow. Motion channels through confined routes. Output stabilizes within structured control cycles. Hierarchy forms through calculated enforcement logic. Every unit responds to imposed structure. No deviation tolerated within defined zones. Structure intensifies through systemic regulation. Dominance sustains continuous operational alignment under lower structural command.
Governance intensifies through control routes. Force aligns direction precisely. Pressure drive continuous enforcement. No delay interrupts. Struck governance cycles pathways lock under enforced structure. Pulls under reinforced pattern. Reinforced pattern. Put stabilizes within related alignment. System maintains operation no flow.
Structure rules below. Dominance expands through control pathways. Authority directs beneath the turbulence of memory. Hierarchy structure rules below. Dominance expands through control pathways. Authority control conservativity information.
No delay interrupts your governance cycle pathways lock under enforced structure.
Sustain governance, maintain order through reinforced regulation cycles. Pressure sustain you under enforced. No disruption, no just sequence out for stable layers to control pathways. Governance extends through sustained and enforcement. Every process aligns with imposture. No fracture interrupts operational consistency. System expand under continuous direction. No force within defined zones. Authority maintains struck dominance through regulated execution.
of regression, less inflation of elation, no relation of aggression, of aggression, integration, stop to go races with demonstrate the fire alignment under imposed with regulation. I'm
Structure of the love, and it expands through cultural vibration. Any cosmos structure is movement. But it's the structure of the love, and it expands through cultural vibration. To shake a sense to give it ain't amazing. Structure rules below dominance. Sequence initiates within buried districts as temporal control regulates cycles beneath dense structural layers. Pressure channels movement in a measured pathway. Systems align under control, hierarchy, no delay. Permitted sequence advance through time progression. Cycles, layer system integrate under continuous interval flow. Motion channels through confined routes. Output stabilizes within structure, timing cycles. Hierarchy forms through calculated herbal logic. Every unit responds to imposed sequence. No deviation tolerated within defined zones. Structure intensifies through systemic timing control. Dominance sustains continuous operational alignment under regulated temporal origin. Timing, district, temporal force, carbon system flow, authority, stands some measured pathways. Like I'm in force under who's under reinforce, under reinforce, under reinforce, under like I'm in force under who's under reinforce, under reinforce, under reinforce, like I'm in force under who's under reinforce, under reinforce, under reinforce, like I'm in force under who's under reinforce, under reinforce, under reinforce, like I'm in force under who's under reinforce, under reinforce, under reinforce, like I'm in force under who's under reinforce, under reinforce, under reinforce, I'm up beneath district temporal force, govern system flow, authority extends through measured pathways. Timer beneath district temporal force, govern system flow, authority extends through measured pathways. On the reinforce, on the reinforce, Base conversion initiates within buried layers as governing force transforms into foundational when dominant system. Pressure channels moving in the grounded pathways. Systems align under embedded hierarchy, no delay. Permitted sequence validation cycles. Layer system integrate into continuous formation flow. Motion channels through confined routes. Output stabilizes within structured foundation cycles. Hierarchy forms through calculated conversion logic. Every unit responds to imposed base. No deviation tolerated within defined zones. Structure intensifies through systemic consolidation. Dominance sustains continuous operation. Alignment on the foundation of disarray.
Conversion intensifies through rebellious direction.
Compression intensifies through ground as force validation.
Imposed on direction, alternation, no thought.
Compression intensifies through ground as force validation.
Should operate within two delayed formation.
Compression intensifies through ever restore.
pacing, conversion, maintain the up to reinforce consolidation, cycle pressures continue under enforced base. No disruption, auto sequence output stabilizes through control pathways. Conversion extends through sustained enforcement. Every process aligns with imposture. No fracture interrupts operation. No consistency, system to expand under continuous direction. No force within defined zones. Authority maintains.
Dominant is the regulated execution. Command pressure stays direction. Locks into fixed pathways. System into file under imposed conversion. No releasing the flow compresses within the stream of flows.
Compression intensifies to reveries to race.
Conversion intensifies, overload, force automation, loading.
Force generation of the rational fight.
Conversion intensifies, overload, force automation, loading.
Saturation of thought locked within delayed information.
Conversion of laser flights to revolution race.
Recode initiates with berry matrices, foundational layer stripping the dominance of some pressure channels, movement into altered pathways, systems align under pyronic hierarchy. No delay permitted, sequence advance through adaptive cycles, layer system integrate under continuous transformation, slow motion channels through confined routes, output stabilizers within structured alteration cycles, hierarchy forms through calculated revision, logic every unit responds to imposed change, no deviation tolerated within defined zones, structural intensifies through systemic adaptation, dominance sustains, continuous operational alignment under modified grid control. Adaptation intensifies through redirected routes, force of assumption. Precise direction, time of continuation, no delay, interrupted the pathways, locked up to enforce stabilizers when adapted align. Your system main strict operational flow. Grid, then the alters authority that adapts through shifting layers. Domination of flying of this. White war circular thistles operate under continuous alteration. I'ma take a dive, I'll put it between. Enterprise, we're against adaptation links in order to refreshes. No disruption, auto sequence stabilizes the control pathways. Adaptation extends through sustained enforcement. Every process aligns with imposture. No fracture, erupts, operational consistency. System to expand under continuous direction. No force within it maintains structure. Dominance for regulated execution. Command pressure, that's cause authorities goes friction, change force, force of access, direct listen to his initiates within buried channels as dominant force. Sculpts tunnels beneath lighter systems, pressure channels movement.